Out of many fancy fairy tale stories that Disney has produced over the years, one particular tale about Beauty and the Beast is actually legit. One of its biggest examples and proponents is Sean Strickland and his girlfriend. Yes, you're right, Sean's girlfriend has changed him for the better. If you're wondering, not much detail is available about her, as Sean likes to keep her private, but she does go by the initials KJ. It's not just coming from us, but the champ himself has made it abundantly clear that his girlfriend KJ, his coach Eric Nixick, and MMA has changed his life for the better. Mostly his girlfriend has made it so much better that the man completely changes tune while around his lady love, much like every other man in the world. He is now even capable of tapping into his emotional side and express in a way that he hasn't ever done in the past.
You go through that level of trauma, like you just view people differently, you know? So it's like, I have a hole in my gum because I'd have so much anxiety as a kid and I would just scratch my gum.
But what caused Sean Strickland to go on a warpath against the world? Well, for that, we're gonna have to dive into his early days. Sean had a rough childhood growing up in Corona, California. His father was an alcoholic who routinely abused him, along with his mother. Living in such a household where drug abuse, physical violence, and constant fights were the norm, it all left a severe impact on Sean and his sibling that continues to haunt them today. Sean even stated that he feared he might lose his mother in one of these heinous altercations. As a child, he decided to sleep as close to his mother as he possibly could. From choosing to sleep closer to the room, in the hallway, or even under the bed. On one such occasion, Sean crawled his way inside his mother's bed and overheard his father threatening to kill her. That's the day everything in his life changed forever. Not only did Sean do something about it, but he actually smashed his father with a guitar that was in the room. Sean was just in middle school at the time. Dealing with a life full of terrifying ordeals because of an abusive father, Sean's grandpa served as the only source of warmth and affection that every child desires. He was the only person who ever showed him any kind of love. Sean took his grandpa and leaned into his ideals more. But unfortunately for him, even that led him to a pathway of becoming a white supremacist, a phase that he would outgrow as he became an adult. To this day, Sean makes it quite clear that he made many regrettable mistakes in those days, one that he will never ever repeat. This goes without saying. Growing up in such an environment turned him into an anomaly. He didn't really fit in anywhere in the world, not in school, not with his peers, nowhere. But his life was about to change for the better very soon. At age 14, Sean's mother took him to an MMA gym where he actually experienced happiness for the first time in his life. Martial arts served as a gateway to channel his negative emotions out of his mind. He used the years of suppressed anger, frustration, rage, trauma into something that truly made him happy. Did Sean choose to fight, or did fighting choose him? Well, we can definitely settle on one thing: that the duo were a perfect match for one another.
Fuck, you know, I learned how to be a man through MMA. I'm not even joking. Like, I had nobody in my life tell me how to be a man. Like, pretty much every life lesson I learned has been in the gym. So it's like, it saved my life.
Dealing with the trauma of a not so healthy childhood, being lost in the ways of wrong ideologies, really brought him to a standstill inside the MMA gym owned by Paul Herrera. Growing up, Sean was told by his teachers that he is the reason why prisons are built. All that truly came to a crashing halt because of martial arts. Not only did Sean become humble, but he also learned the valuable lessons of camaraderie and brotherhood. On the first day at his gym, Sean broke his nose, got beat up within an inch of his life, but despite all that, he truly felt happiness for once in his life. Finally, after years of trauma, Sean had found his true calling and a way to channel his energy. With hair like Tarzan and an impressive physique, Sean was on the pathway to become our beloved American Psycho. He even credits his brother and Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz, for implanting the idea of taking up the sport at the age of 12. That is most likely where his mother must have picked up the idea and took him to the gym. Sean made a name for himself as an unbeaten and undefeated prospect outside of the UFC with a 13-0 record. This saw him making his way into the biggest promotion in the world at the age of 23. From being the king of the cage middleweight champ to just another contender, the transition was not easy. His tie-up with the Extreme Couture and coach Eric Nixick early in his career truly set him up for greatness. Being part of a stacked gym, housing talent like Francis Ngannou, Miesha Tate, Chris Curtis, Randy Couture, Brad Tavares, and many more. Sean is even crazy enough to routinely call out Francis Ngannou in the gym just to get a near-death encounter via sparring. Everyone knows that Sean believes he can take on anyone and everyone. He is not really scared of anyone in the world, but at the end of the day, even Sean understands that the Predator is not a normal man. Much like Francis, many seasoned veterans fill the pathway to the World Championship in the UFC, all set and ready to strike down the newbies. Every time Sean found himself stitching together a couple wins, he ran into a roadblock. Do you know Sean Strickland is actually a decent grappler, and he even has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Well, if that is true, then why doesn't he ever utilize that? The answer is Kamaru Usman. One encounter with the former welterweight champ in 2017 turned him against the idea of ever relying on that again.
I was going for fucking arm bars and triangles and he was bouncing my head off the mat. Once I experienced that level of fucking misery, I said, fuck the gi, I'm never wearing that thing again.
Since then, he has changed his style completely. As Sean would call it, he now likes to do the man dance even with the greatest kickboxers of the modern era. Where most men would likely shoot for a takedown, Sean would dare to stand and bang. Need more examples of his unrelenting bravado? Well, back in 2019, his career almost came to a screeching halt due to a motorcycle accident.
Okay, I was riding back from Kings and I got in an accident.
But from the looks of it, it doesn't seem like Sean was deterred from his pathway at all. Where most doctors told him that his career would likely end, Sean decided that he will write his own destiny. From his early life, Sean knew all too well that life is what you want it to be. Dealing with a problem-filled past and still rising out of it is nothing short of greatness. That is exactly what he continued to do in his UFC run even after the injury scare. Just like that, Sean came back and he was a man possessed. There was nothing that could keep his spirit down, not even a brutal loss. Much like the former middleweight champ Michael Bisping, Sean also found himself earning an unlikely title shot. With less than 2 months' time to prepare and a golden opportunity to summarize his life's work, Sean allowed the chips to fall where they may. To this day, Sean is the only man to drop Israel Adesanya in the UFC, and he went on to pick up the gold, etching his name in the annals of MMA history as a champ, thereby making it clear that Sean has truly arrived.